the mighty have fallen. Just a little bit. What's going on, guys, and welcome to the grand finale of my Expendables review series with my review of Expend4bles, tentatively known as Expendables 4. If you have not checked those out yet, I have reviewed the first 3 of these, which is in the description down below, so check those out when you can. And a ranking of all 4 of these films will follow soon, so stay tuned for that. And as always, thank you so much, guys, for clicking here. I really do appreciate it. So in this chapter, the Expendables are sent to stop a terrorist group from stealing nuclear warheads with the intention of starting World War III by setting them off in the Russian Far East. So for those of you who have not been keeping up with this film review series, I've had highs and lows with this series, mostly highs. That's mostly because you take a bunch of your favorite hero icons from the 80s and 90s and lump them into one movie. I've always deeply respected that. The first one was a good enough start. It had some weak elements, but it knew what it was, and it definitely knew how to get to you, and how to excite you, and how to have fun with it. The second one, even more. That was my favorite one. Third one, they kind of went off the rails, but it was still a fun time. With Expend4bles, I had to kind of sit a couple of days and marinate on this and just try to think about what I was wanting to say. This actually makes my second time watching it, and plus the fact that I couldn't deny my family that. That's who I went with this time. So the first time I watched this, I was torn. I wasn't quite sure what to say about it, didn't quite know what to think about it. I definitely saw a lot of the problems that majority of people were seeing. This is one of those that will probably piss a lot of people off. I'm actually not one of those people. I was a little bit more forgiving. I was a little bit more accepting, especially the second time around. But before getting into all that, let's start off with the positives. I do gotta say, there's a lot of Jason Statham in this. He's the one that shined out the most. There's a lot of scenes with him kicking ass and taking names, and that I definitely did appreciate. And as limited as they were in the humor and as stupid as they got on the humor, that actually worked the most between Statham and Stallone. Sadly, they made a colossal mistake from doing something to Stallone's character that I won't spoil here, but I'm sure a lot of you are probably rolling your eyes, especially for those of you who didn't like it and have seen it and didn't like it. But I won't spoil it anyway. But I did like the chemistry between Stallone and Statham. As little as it was, that's where I laughed the most. That's where some of the magic was actually still shining. So I did enjoy that aspect of it. I did enjoy that, just funny bantering and just two brothers, brother-like characters just going at it, verbally, just having a good time with each other.
You almost fucking killed me! You're welcome!
There's not much I could say about Megan Fox because there's not much that I watched that has her in it other than the first 2 Transformers and those Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have not really seen her doing much since those. I actually did watch another one that had her in it. It's another recent one that she had released straight to DVD, VOD, and it was on Netflix. It's called Till Death, which was another good one. Other than those, I have not seen her since those days, especially since the Transformers and Ninja Turtles days. But in Expend4bles, I thought she brought a fresh, new wave. You find out that she's one of the Expendables, she's one of the flock. She's one of those characters that was kind of refreshing. And she definitely is eye candy. I'm not just saying that because of that fact, but she actually brought some fresh, new perspective to the group. Now, moving on to my negatives. I do got to say, this one is the weakest. And yes, even weaker than 3. I know. Even after what I said in 3, I couldn't imagine them getting any worse than that. Let me just put it to you this way. This one actually makes 3 a little bit more tolerable. If I'm being honest here, that's the best way I can put it. You've got the action sequences that just doesn't quite line up. In the first 3 previous films, they opened with this grand opening, this epic opening that it involves the Expendables themselves. You know, it plays through, and then you get that awesome title card on the front. In this, they do it differently, and it's just not the same. It doesn't feel the same. With the action sequences themselves, there's a lot of shaky cam going on, and a lot more than what the first three did. The first three was more focused, but in this, you can't really see what's going on in some scenes. And there are many movies out there that had that same problem. May I direct you to Snake Eyes? But in Expend4bles, it just didn't quite know how to balance it. And this one did seem a little sluggish. There was a point in the film to where all these different things were happening logically to where, okay, how did that happen? You know, how did this happen? It's just one of those films that's going to get you to thinking. It's like, logic. If you're one of those people that looks at things logically, this one's not going to make a lick of sense to you whatsoever. I could get into the details, but I won't. But it's going to be a head scratcher. And getting back to the action, it doesn't quite help that the action sequences, a lot of the scenes, looks green screenish. You can clearly tell that some of the scenes, you can tell that there's green screens in the back because it doesn't look finished. The explosions and even things like some of the blood, from what I could tell, now I may be wrong on this, but because of the way the rest of the action scenes looked, it looked fake. It looked CGI. Everything looked like straight out of an low-budget, early 2000s video game. That's how unfinished the effects looked. It's like they took no effort, they took no time to just finish it and make it look proper, but in this, it just looked cheesy. That was one of the major things that stood out. The second thing that stood out, and this really should have been my first, but I'll go with the flow here, was the fact that they kind of got away from the magic. The whole foundation of these movies' existence, of this franchise's existence, is throwing all your favorite action icons from the 80s and 90s into one. You don't get Bruce Willis. You don't get Arnold Schwarzenegger. Harrison Ford doesn't return. Antonio Banderas. Where are all those guys? You get Dolph Lundgren. You get Randy Couture. And you get Jason Statham. And you also get Sylvester Stallone, as little screen time as he has. But you don't get that magic that the first three had because of that. Again, it's like they'd forgotten what the foundation was to begin with. I know they're trying to do something new, and this is one of those creative choices that they decided to throw in that made it just really dumb and just not make a lick of sense. You have a movie that's built on something. Why change it so much to where it feels kind of like a completely different movie? I swear, if the name The Expendables IP was not attached to this, it would not hit theaters at all. This movie did feel a lot different, and it also didn't help that you don't get that famous Expendables theme song in it. Like that first two had that stand-out theme song of the Expendables, and this, you don't get that. It's like they even had the balls to change that too. It's like they forgot what they were doing. It's like they forgot what they were making. They tried to change the direction and the narrative around so much that it just lost its way. And that's basically what this was. And really, that's mostly due to the story being the weakest out of the four, even weaker than 3. So weak that it came off as a low-rent, straight-to-streaming, VOD, DVD, whatever you want to call it, cheese fest. Now, I know most of the 80s and 90s movies came off as cheese fest, cheese balls. But that was then. It worked then. It worked the best then. It's just not that workable now. It doesn't fit in today's society and today's tolerances. So you can't really make that up as an excuse. Not really. There's nothing here that screams out epic. Like I said, if the Expendables IP was not attached to this at all, you wouldn't even hear about it, most likely. And going back to the characters, I know I'm going back and forth. I apologize for that. I'm going all over the place. But the new characters that was brought on, there wasn't nothing interesting there. There wasn't nothing fun about these characters. It seems like that they wasn't even having that good of a time. It's like they were just there for a paycheck. They were just there to help a friend out and then get paid and then go on. Again, go back to the magic. There wasn't no magic. There wasn't no fun. There wasn't no riffs. Their deliveries, like with 50 Cent and that chick, whoever her name is, I even forgot what her name is. Everybody else, other than Stallone, the little time that we had, and Jason Statham, just nobody seemed like they were wanting to be there. It just seemed like they were just going with the flow, and there wasn't no fun. There wasn't no fun there at all. So that was definitely another disappointment that they decided to do with this. Another one of those creative choices that they really botched up on. Now again, was this a movie that pissed me off? Was this a movie that I walked out of? Certainly not. But again, this one does make Expendables 3 a little bit more tolerable because of all the creative choices that they made that really didn't need to be made at all. Plus, it also didn't help that you got an ending with some twists and turns that was kind of obvious. Even the first time that I watched it, it was obvious. It was pretty obvious where they were going. It never really balances out. And going back to that magic, it just feels like it was lost here. They just got away from that star quality that made this franchise what it is. They went out so far off the rails that it didn't really feel like an Expendables movie. Now, will I get it on Blu-ray? Will I get it on 4K? Probably, just so I can have the whole set. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, that's stupid. If you don't like it, then why are you getting it? I've got my reasons. I know I'm going to be on an island on that.
I don't give a fuck.
But in the end, guys, the Expend4bles, was it as good as the first three? No. Was it as tolerable as 3? Not really. Like I said, this one kind of makes Expendables 3 a little bit more tolerable, for me anyway. But it's one of those that I still had a mediocre time with. It's just something that I wish would have gone differently. There's definitely a little room for improvement here. It's a movie I felt to be a little bit on the fence with. So Expend4bles, what was your thoughts on it? Were you a fan of this? Have you seen it yet? Were you one of those that actually found some enjoyment with it? Were you somebody that actually found it to be the best? Or were you one of those that found this to be the most horrendous and the most unforgiving Expendables movie out of all the 4? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. And make sure to click that bell icon and set it to all so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.